1 Thessalonians chapter 4, we'll start at verse 13. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. We're going to begin reading with verse 13. Now this is the next event on God's timetable. This can happen tonight. Nothing is stopping this from taking place. Listen to what it says. It says, "But I would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep or have died, that ye may not sorrow as others who have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which have died will God bring him with him." The Bible says after from this body as a Christian, you're immediately present with the Lord. That's where my parents are. And they're going to come with him at this event. Listen to the event that's going to take place. And it could, as I said, it could happen tonight. "For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain shall not prevent the coming of the Lord, prevent them that are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, with the trump of God. Then Christ shall be raised first, and we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. So shall we ever be with the Lord." One of the most exciting events, in fact, for us, the greatest event. It's going to take place very soon. Why? Because Jesus said when all these things have come to pass, I'm coming. What things is he talking about? Listen to it. Now, I won't have you turn your Bibles to that because it would take too long. But listen to it carefully. First, it says there's going to be distress of nations, men's hearts failing them for fear. They're terrified of nuclear weaponry. They know it's going to end the world if it goes. And Iran wants it. They said no one would start it. Of course they would. They feel if they can kill a Jew, they'll have a special place in heaven. They'll be more than happy to start a nuclear war. Of course, it's not going to happen. God said, no, I'm taking care of that. But the world, they're scared to death. And if I were not a Christian, I'd be terrified. Mankind can't solve the mess we're in. God says when men's hearts failing them for fear, it's already there. Now, the signs of Noah and Lot. Listen, kids. In the days of Noah, chapter 6, it says wickedness was so filthy, so vile, and men's hearts and minds were evil continually. God said it's so corrupt. I made it. I'll destroy it. We found 8 people trusted him. And he, from there, Noah. I can see Noah. Guess God. I'm going to destroy the world. I made it. I'm destroying everything that pleases on. But if you will obey me, I'll spare you the good back. What do you want me to do? I want you to build a boat. 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet high, 3 stories. Give him the whole plan. Took him 120 years, he and his boys. And they built it. First parade you ever had in the history of the world. Animals came in. People were there about thousands upon thousands. It was so interesting. What's taking place? And all of a sudden, they're asking, how come he's got all these animals trained? God was controlling the animals. And they all got in the ark. His family got in the ark, and Noah was standing outside. And God said, not from there, from the ark. God said, Noah, come into the ark. God was in there. God shut the door. Not Noah. No pulleys. Almighty God slammed it shut. Why? Because there were going to be people pounding on that ark. Let us in, because the floods are coming. They'd never had rain. Water. Mist. It was the fact that it watered the ground. They'd never had rain. And all of a sudden, you know, you've been through storms. Storm clouds come, the lightning, the thunder. This is all new to them. They'd never seen this. Now they're terrified. Why? That's what Noah's been preaching for 120 years. And then all of a sudden, that's not bad enough. God touches the fountains of the deep. Where do we get our water? Well water. Water in the ground. God touches it. Instantly, water pours up and covers 18 feet above the highest mountain that existed. Worldwide flood. They proved it exactly what happened. Jesus said when it gets so rotten as it was in Noah's day, I'm coming back. Lot. 2 angels came into town. God said, go in. See how wicked it is. They went in, and Noah and Lot said, they come in the house. They said, no, we'll stay out here. No, don't do that. dangerous out there. They came in, and all of a sudden the Bible tells us men, young and old, surrounded the house. What did they yell? Bring these men out that we may rape them. They were homosexuals. God said, I destroy them. I will not have it. When it gets that rotten, Jesus said, I'm coming. Look at the states today that are putting down certification of homosexual marriage. It's that rotten. God says, now I'm coming. Do you know what they're doing now? They're putting out a play. Jesus is supposed to be the star of the play. He and his disciples are all supposed to be homosexuals. God condemns homosexuality, condemns adultery, fornication, lasciviousness. God condemns sin. And God says, I'm going to destroy it. It's coming, kids. But Jesus said before that happened, I'm getting you out of here. I'm a Christian. I won't be here when all that judgment falls. How I thank God for that. Listen what else he said. The gospel of the kingdom will be preached around the world. We've had that happen by satellite. Never had it before. It also says that there's going to be, and it's amazing how God puts all this down. There's going to be, get this, false Christ and false prophets. We got them everywhere. All these cults springing up like mad. Listen to this. Pestilence and plagues. We thought we had everything under control in the 1900s. We found penicillin. Today they say we have at least 5,000 viruses. But we have no cure for it. They're terrified in the medical world. He said it was going to be that way just before he came. Listen to it, gang. This is the God that never lies. There's going to be race hatred. We've had ethnic cleansing and all the rest of it going on. It's amazing today. They still have race hatreds everywhere. Wars and rumors of wars. We're there, kids. Wars and rumors of wars. Everywhere. Right now, there are at least 40 wars going on. Unbelievable. Takes place. Listen to this. Increased knowledge, increased speed. In the day this was written, camels traveled 8 miles an hour. Horses could go to 16 to 18 miles an hour. That was the speed. But in the last days, increase of speed. In the 1900s, they invented the iron horse called the train. They got that up to 100 miles an hour. Then they had airplanes that transported people 400 miles an hour. And then they found that they had aircraft that belonged to the military 2,400 miles an hour, and now we know they go around space at 25,000 miles an hour. In the last day, you're going to see increase of speed and increase of knowledge and increase of travel. Listen to the statistics, kid. Between 1954 and 1990, travel went from, in air travel, from 2 million to 200 million. At any time, during day or night, while we're here, there are at least 5 to 10 million people in airspace. Unbelievable. He said it was going to be that way. Knowledge, after almost 6,000 years, the 1800s, we now find that the total of our knowledge doubled. Then we go for the next years, and on we go, 18 months doubling. Now it's every 72 hours it's doubling. And on it goes with the fact that increase of knowledge, increase of speed, increase of all the stuff, plus increase in medicine. And then the Bible says there's going to be famines and pestilence. And right now, they're scared to death of what's going to take place in California because the famine's so horrible. The drought is so terrible. He said the last days are going to be that way. I just read or heard today. We're on the verge of tipping over where there will not be enough food. Any given night, 100 million people go to bed hungry. Jesus said in the last days, young people, you're there. Listen to this. Frequency of earthquakes in diverse places. You know what that means? Places where it's never been before. Right now, your seismologist will tell you. We're having earthquakes where we've never had them before. Jesus said it would be. And we're having such an increase, we can't hardly believe it. And they said it's like the earth is gyrating for one great, massive earthquake. That's going to happen after we're out of here. Jesus said every island, every mountain is going to be moved out of that place to a worldwide earthquake. That'll shatter everything. It's coming, kids. He said so. And then the Bible gives us the big one. The people of Israel went against God. He said, under dispersion. For 2,500 years, dispersed among the Gentiles. But God said, one day, I'm going to bring you back to your land. They never had their own land after God dispersed them. 1948, Harry Truman, our president, pushed it through. United Nations made Israel a state. Star of David. That's their own flag, their own air force, their own army. We know what they can do. Phenomenal. But listen to this. One day old, and the Egyptians came against them to annihilate them. They had 2 airplanes. Americans flew the airplanes. American Jews flew the airplanes. That's all they had. It's like using pop guns. Guess what they had? They said, it's impossible. We'll never make it. God said, I'm on your side. And all of a sudden, the Arabs were defeated. The next war year is 67. Again. Every time. Now Israel is in Gaza. They're wiping out all those towns. But every nation, including ours with our president, is against Israel. Why? Because God said they would. 83rd Psalm, 4th verse. And they will say to you as a nation, you should be no more. Destroy them. What are the Islamics saying? Annihilate Israel. Get rid of them. Kids, there's not one thing we need. Not one thing we need for Jesus to come. Now listen carefully. Jesus is going to come. Trump of God's going to sound, and we are going home. I accepted Christ 70 years ago. I'm an old man. I accepted Christ as a teenager 70 years ago. Am I glad I did? One of these days, it could be tonight. We're gone. 1/1100th of a second is how fast it's going to be. Twinkle of an eye, not the blink, the twinkle. And God says it's over. Now, ask yourself this question. Are you a Christian? Let me give it real quick. Has it gone from here to here? If you're a Christian, your life changed. Means you admitted you were sinning, couldn't save yourself. Jesus can save you. I want my sins, I want to pray. Now, when the trump sounds, I did that at 17. We're going. We're gone. Trust you're not going to be left behind. Listen to what's going to happen. The first thing God's going to do is have a white horse. You heard of 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The first one's white. On him says a man. He has a bow in his hand, but no arrow. He's coming in peace. He's called the Antichrist. The devil is going to empower that man. The second horse that's going to be revealed is the red horse. He takes peace from the earth. It's going to be so unbelievable. People are going to be killed by the millions. It's a giveaway society. What's going to happen when there's no more to give away? The riots that will take place. Third horse, the black horse. The economy is going to so tank. Get this. God said right in Isaiah, in the last days, they will take their gold and their silver. Remember, get that takes you security. They're going to take it. The Bible says and throw it in the caves of the bats. Why? It's useless. The economy's going to go down that way. And the fourth horse is the pale horse. That's death itself. When hell follows. That's going to take place after we're out of here. Now listen carefully. Then God's going to allow 7 angels to blow 7 trumpets. And I won't take time tonight to tell you, but each of those have a plague like you can't believe. Water turned to blood. Scorpion, stinging men, they don't die, but there's this great pain. Darkness, such as they never know. And on. 7 trumpets. That's the mid place of the 7 years of the tribulation. At that time, 1/4, 25% of the world will be dead. That's approximately by then it will be 2 billion people. Then God says, vials, 7 angels throw out their vials. And again, such horrible judgment upon mankind. And at the end of the 7 vials, 50% of the world will be dead. Judgment's coming. And then it all culminates in that last great battle. It's called across from China. Right now, China has over 100 million soldiers in their army. They're coming across the Euphrates. It'll be dried up now. They've got a big dam there now. It'll be dried up in a matter of hours. And they're going to come across. What are they going to do? They're going to kill Israel. Can you imagine? Think about this. What it would be like for those who live at that time. It's going to happen. Now, if you're not a Christian, that's what you've got to look forward to. And then, of course, the judgment at the end. Kids, listen. Make sure you're a Christian. This battle of Armageddon is going to take place. I have no idea what it's going to be like, but let's see. Maybe this will give us some enlightening.
Yeah, okay. Save me a seat on the bus. Oh, no, your helmet looks good. Yeah, right. Let me see. One size fits none. Let's catch up with you in a minute. Well, I'm in the Army now. Of course, anyone from 9 to 92 who can hold a gun is in the Army. People ask me if I'm afraid to go to war. The last 7 years, there's not much that scares me. It all started back with that disappearance thing. People everywhere just gone. No explanation, no warning. Gone. A couple of my friends, man, they disappeared. We looked all over for them. Some of my buddies and I decided, we didn't know what did this. Was this a government experiment? Was it aliens? We didn't know, but we were going to rescue our friends. And we started hunting everywhere. And then the world went nuts. I mean, it was that big earthquake, a mega quake they called it. It was felt everywhere. There wasn't one country that didn't have buildings crashing down. People were asking for help from everywhere. Every corner of the earth got shook. It was crazy. All of a sudden, we didn't have to worry about looking for our friends. We were trying to dig up survivors, Evidently, when that earthquake went, it cracked some big old caverns in the earth and released these creatures we didn't even know existed. The scientists called them subterranean locusts. They're huge, clattering wings. They flew around, and if they bit you, they didn't kill you. It's like they stung you, and you were almost like paralyzed with pain, but you wouldn't die. It was horrible. They were all over the place. I remember me and my buddies were walking down this country road, and we heard them coming. You could hear them coming from about a mile away because their wings clacked so loud. We're like, oh no. And off in the distance, we saw this old deserted farmhouse, so we took off. We got in there, got down the basement, locked everything up we could, laid on the floor and tried not to breathe. You heard them coming. The ground started to shake a little bit, and they surrounded the house. You could hear them climbing all over it, busting in the windows. They dig and they smell, trying to smell any kind of life. It seemed like forever. We were just laying there, not even breathing, man. Suddenly you heard the clacking start and everything shook and it took off. Well, they died out, but it turns out that those big earthquake things, they released some gas we didn't know existed down there either. And it intensified the heat of the sun. So much so you couldn't go out if it was a sunny day. Because if you did, and in just a couple minutes of being outside in the sun, your flesh would start to bubble. It would start burning you. So everything had to flip-flop. We did everything at night and tried to find a way to sleep during the day. Unless it was a real cloudy day, then you could sneak out and it was all right. I remember I was cutting through the park. It was real cloudy. And all of a sudden, the clouds broke. And the sun started coming through. And I'm like, oh no. And I saw this park bench thing. This little picnic table off in the distance. So I took off. I dove underneath it, got under there in the shade. And I felt something hit me. I looked over and there was someone else getting under it too. It was a girl. We were trapped there for about 6 hours. Her name's Susan. And we hit it off. Who would have thought, in the midst of all this madness, the whole world turning upside down, I'd find love. We spent every minute together we could. It was like that silver lining, I lost so many friends and so many things were crazy. The world was out of control. I had her. Eventually the gas dissipated. You go out in the day again. And We were walking through that same park, and all of a sudden the ground started to shake. I was thinking, oh no, not another earthquake. And I looked behind me, and this wall of black was barreling towards us. A storm like nothing else. The reason the ground was shaking is because it was hailstones. 150 to 200 pound hailstones coming down and just destroying everything it hit. I looked up ahead and I could see a cave up in the distance, and I grabbed her hand and I said, come on, let's go. We can do this. And we started running as fast as we can. I felt her hand get pulled out of mine. I thought she fell down. I turned around to pick her up. She hadn't fallen. A hailstone had got her. I felt the rage build inside me. I looked up at the sky and said, if there's a God, come on, kill me too! I dare ya! The storm's gone. I was left alone. I've been doing a lot of thinking since she died. You know, people say, are you afraid to die? Man, you're going to war. I'm not afraid of death. I look forward to it. You see, those friends, those betraying, lying, deceitful jerks that I called friends, they knew something. See, they knew this was coming, and they knew a way out. That's why they disappeared, and they didn't care to tell any of us. Evidently, we weren't worth it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to death. Because they're on the other side somewhere. And I don't care if it takes me eternity. I am going to find them. And when I do, there's going to be some payback. They knew this was coming, and they got out of the way, and they left us. Okay, I'm coming. If you'll excuse me, I have to go and die now.
Who will that be in your life? Who reminds you of that? Who in your life do you know doesn't know Christ? And you know if the rapture were to happen now, they'd be left. And they'd be wondering the same exact things. You know, let's go back to 1 Thessalonians 4, where we were in the beginning. Let's go to chapter 4, verse 14. And we're going to find out what exactly the person in the drama was missing. Now, it says, if you haven't gotten there, that's fine. You can just listen. If you have, read along. It says, we believe that Jesus died and came back to life. Now, what does that mean to us? It's an awesome story, right? Some guy died and he came back to life. It's crazy. We can't imagine that. But what's it mean? Why is it so important? Well, in order to understand how important it is, and in order to understand what it means, we have to understand what we need and what we are lacking. And that is represented in Romans 5:12. I'll just read it to you so you don't have to turn to it, because that'll take a lot of time. It says, sin came into the world through one person, and death came through sin. So death spread to everyone because everyone sinned. I don't need to explain what doing wrong looks like. I'm sure you guys all know, and I'm sure you guys know what you've done that's wrong. I'm sure you guys know when you slipped up, when you've disobeyed your parents, when you've looked at things you shouldn't have, when you've thought things you shouldn't have. I don't need to get into detail there. We know we've done things wrong. And the problem with that is, God's standard, the only way to get into heaven is perfection. And we're not that. So it sounds like we're hopeless, but let's look back at 1 Thessalonians 4:14. It says, we believe that Jesus died and came back to life. And that's the key. Because in Romans 5:8 it says, Christ died for us while we were still sinners. This demonstrates God's love for us. You see, when Jesus died, when Jesus was sent to earth, he lived the perfect life. He did everything right. He didn't do anything wrong. So he was absolutely perfect. He was perfect so that he could take the penalty for what you and for what I deserve. He paid the price for the fine that we deserve. He paid the penalty for the death sentence we deserve, so that we could spend eternity with him. Now, you're probably thinking, why on earth would God send his son to live a perfect life and then be brutally killed, be brutally attacked and beaten, skin ripped off, beard ripped off, thorns crammed into his head? Why would he do that for us? And then, especially considering the majority of people won't even come to him. They'll just turn away. They'll mock him. We know what the world's like today. We heard about it. Why would he do that if he knew the majority of people would turn away from him? And that answer is found in Romans 5:17. And one of my favorite verses, and I'll just read it for you. It says, "It is certain that death ruled because of one person's failure. It is even more certain that those who receive God's overflowing kindness and the gift of his approval will rule in life because of one person, Jesus Christ." Let's look at the part where it says, "and the gift of his approval." The gift means that we can't get there on our own. We can't say, I lived a pretty good life. I'm pretty close to perfect, actually. I'll be in heaven. It doesn't work like that because we're not perfect. But God gave us a gift, himself. And when we choose to accept it, we'll get what the other part of this verse explains. It says, it's even more certain that those who receive God's overflowing kindness, overflowing, I love that word. It might be my favorite word in the whole world, especially in this context, because when we accept God's gift, he doesn't just save us from hell. No. He pours out so much love on us, and he pours out so much kindness on us every day, that if you're walking with Christ, not only is your life filled with love, the people around you experience this love because God's love is overflowing. It's overflowing. So now maybe you guys know this. Maybe you've grown up in church. I grew up here. It's like a really intense version of church. It's all summer of this. And so I knew it, right? I knew it inside and out, like you guys might. But during the drama, you realized. You knew it. But maybe some people back home don't know it. Maybe your friends don't know this truth. Maybe your parents don't know this truth. Maybe your brothers and sisters don't know this truth. And quite frankly, maybe you've never realized this truth for yourself. But if you do know Christ, and you know you're going to heaven, you've accepted a personal relationship with him, do the other people in the world know that you're going to heaven, and if the rapture were to happen, you could take it? Do the other people in the world know that? And more importantly, do the people in your life know how to get to heaven by the way you act? Do they understand that you're different, and this is why? Have you ever laid it out there? Because if not, there's going to be somebody like that talking about you. And they might be saying, they weren't any different than me. Why were they taken and I wasn't? They acted the same exact way I did. When we were in the locker room, we talked about the same stuff. When we did sleepovers, we talked about the same exact stuff. We did the same exact stuff. We went to the same parties, we did the same stuff, and then they're gone? This doesn't make any sense. Are you living that kind of life that would confuse people? Or are you living the life that's going to lead them? That it will lead them to a relationship with Christ. But for those of you who this is all new to you, and you've never heard about a relationship with Christ, this is the first time that you've heard about Jesus not being like some religious guy that says, no, yes, no, and it's not just a bunch of rules. Maybe that's you, and you're just like, well, I want a relationship. I want to experience this overflowing love I keep hearing about. I have great news. You can tonight. And maybe you guys realize that you aren't living your lives 100%. I'm going to give you guys a chance to start fresh. To say, you know what, God, I've blown it. I haven't been a good example for you, in my school, in my family. I want to start over. I need a fresh start. Well, tonight, I'm going to pray a little prayer in a minute. And when I pray that, if you want to start over, or you want to start for the first time, repeat it with me. Pray it with me. And then we can get this whole new life started with, and we can help you along the way, all right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to bow our heads and close our eyes. If you want this relationship we've been telling you about all evening, repeat this prayer after me. You don't need to use any verbal words because God can hear what you're thinking. All right, so pray after me. Dear God, I know that I'm a sinner. I know that I have chosen to live my own way. I realize now that I need you. I turn away from the path I have chosen. I want to take your free gift of salvation. I want you to come into my life. I want to know you. Amen. Now, everybody head bows, eyes closed. If you guys made that tonight, you pray that, whether to start fresh or to start for the first time, look up at me. Make eye contact with me. Right here. You guys looking at me? I want you to do something real bold. I want you to come and meet with me right here. I want to move this podium. Come on up. If you're looking at me right now and you want to make this change, come on up.